freedom is never more than one generation away from extinction. We didn't pass it on to our children in the bloodstream. The only way they can inherit the freedom we have known is if we fight for it, protect it, defend it, and then hand it to them with the well-taught lessons of how they in their lifetime must do the same. And if you and I don't do this, then you and I may well spend our sunset years telling our children and our children's children what it once was like in America when men were free.
Hey everybody, welcome to episode number 462 of Gun Freedom Radio, where we engage, we educate, and we inform. We are brought to you by azfirearmsauctions.com, where you set the price on guns, ammo, and accessories. I am one of your hosts, Cheryl Todd.
And I'm the other guy, Dan Todd. Our theme today is training virtually everywhere. And our guest today is Melonie Kennedy. Melonie is an author, certified firearms instructor, and certified trauma-informed yoga and breathwork instructor. As an author and editor, Melonie's work has appeared in a variety of media, both online and in print, from poetry anthologies to trade journals to books and magazines, like LadyShooter LifeStyles magazine.
Welcome to the show, Miss Melonie.
Thank you. I appreciate you having me on today.
I am so excited. We've talked so much back and forth online, and to finally have this moment to be sort of together, right, on Zoom is wonderful. So I want to just kind of dive right in to, being a firearms instructor and a yoga instructor. There's a lot of people out there that are like, wait a minute, that the same person cannot occupy one body. Doing both of those diametrically opposed, we assume, kind of worlds. So how do you tie them together?
So I absolutely agree that on the surface, that does not compute. In part because of the perceptions that we have, especially here in the West, we have a very commercialized version of yoga, right?
Okay.
We have the Hollywood version where maybe we see folks potentially as very pacifistic or woo-woo, airy-fairy. And on the flip side, because of some of our media coverage, we might also see firearms owners as very aggressive, itching for a fight. They just want to go out and use that gun on somebody else, right? But that's not necessarily true. Especially
Absolutely.
for many of us, and I'm sure that y'all fall right in this category. It's not about let me use this. It's about if I have to use this, right?
And praying we never do have to.
Please don't make me use this.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yes, don't make me. But if you make me, here I am.
Exactly.
And so one of the things that has come up in my life is having situations where I was afraid for my life and ended up having to defend myself in a multitude of ways. And when I got deeper into becoming a yoga practitioner and then ultimately a yoga teacher, I was able to learn ways to calm myself and to be more mentally prepared and even situationally aware. Because if we know our body a little bit better, then we know our mind a little bit better. And what a lot of folks don't realize also as we dive deeper into any culture's scriptures is that there are even religious references that remind us to be prepared to defend ourselves, our families, especially our babies, our grandkids, right? And even our communities. So we see that in the Old Testament with Yael when she had to unfortunately kill Sisera, the commander of the Canaanite army, and she saved Israel. She didn't go out there going, hey, let me fight this guy, right? But she was a prepared woman that listened to her instincts. And we see the same thing in the yoga community. If you choose to take it beyond a physical practice, just a good workout, get some stretches in, right?
Yeah.
If you choose to do any reading in the Bhagavad Gita, you learn about battle And this is about a community. This is about families that are being torn apart because someone's doing something. And the whole thing focuses on a conversation of, I really don't want to have to go to war.
Right.
How can I avoid it? And ultimately it is unavoidable. And so the prince does what he needs to do. And I think as firearms owners and as a shooting instructor, same thing, I have that same sensation of, I really don't want to have to do this. I make that joke about when I'm shotgunning, when I have something that's maybe a little higher gauge than I would like to deal with, is I don't want to have to do this, but I'm going to use all the slugs when I have to. If you're going to make me do this.
Yes. Oh my.
So Melonie, when I read you in, I said that you were a certified trauma-informed instructor, certified. What does that mean?
So that actually comes over from the healthcare industry. So trauma-informed care was created as an approach that acknowledges that patients have come into situations from all kinds of experiences, maybe in their past or maybe currently in their present. And of course, in our industry, we see that with domestic violence, assault situations. That's trauma. So what trauma informed means is that practitioners are aware that this affects how someone may need to be cared for, how they may need to be approached. And that has carried over into the wellness industry because of some fitness instructors will touch and manually adjust. And maybe that's not appropriate for that client. And then we carry that right over into firearms. We have folks who come to us for instruction who have also experienced not great things. And so we can be informed about what trauma is, how it will affect folks, and then adjust accordingly to make sure that they're training in a safe, comfortable environment.
That's interesting.
Boy, that's so true. I mean, I've my degrees are in psychology, and I've taken certain classes, and the instructor has been very, very overtly mindful of, may I touch you as I'm telling you something, or as I'm, maybe manipulating your hand to make sure you've got a good grip on your firearm, or, something like that. And just even asking that permission feels over the top to the average person, but to someone who has been traumatized, right? That their no hasn't been a no, that their boundaries haven't been respected. That is so impactful that there's that extra layer of care and respect for
absolutely that bodily autonomy means
safety.
Everything. Yeah.
Boy.
Well, that also makes sense for somebody that's, maybe a woman that comes in for training that's never fired a gun before in her life, and she feels that she needs to have a firearm, but she doesn't want to have one. And that, it's good to know where these people are coming from so that you can work with them in a way that acceptable.
Well, and it's interesting even that, because, Dan's this big, strong man. And so he thinks in terms of, and especially with Armed Women America being part of, your brand. But there are men as well that have been traumatized and brutalized, and this is important for them as well. Do you agree?
Absolutely. And actually the military community, which, as I've mentioned to you before, my husband is a retired military, and we do see physical trauma, of course, but we see a lot of mental trauma for both our male and female service members. And so sometimes it is not even about a sexual touch, right? It's about a sudden movement, or we're dealing with psychological impact of loud noises or flashing, those kind of things. And so those situations, it makes a difference too, because they will understand that if they're working with someone who's trauma informed, we're using an invitational language. We're not demanding that they do this right now. They can always step back, take a breath, get composed, and we can even stop a lesson if we need to. No matter what the reason is, it's okay.
So you mentioned that you've had occasion in your life, unfortunately, to need to protect yourself at the level of, you know, having a firearm, needing a firearm,
Mhm.
being forced to use the firearm in some way. Were you uh, were you always someone who understood the need for self-protection at that level, or was that something that evolved over time for you?
So it actually has been almost a lifelong situation for me, in part because my first situation with firearms being needed was in a rural area when I was a child. And this is back in the 80s. So, things are a little different. And we were in an area where people would just turn their dogs free. And those animals had created a pack of feral dogs.
Oh my gosh.
And so I was actually being tracked to the bus stop by a pack of dogs down our private road that was like, I don't know, half mile, quarter mile long. And my mother went, "Whoo, no, this is not a good thing for my child." So that was actually why my entire family started to learn to shoot. And I lucked out because the lady that came to visit us was a gun sight student.
Oh, wow.
So yeah, so even just as a little kid, I learned that gun sight was my mecca. And now here we've retired to Arizona. So that's my 2025 goal is visit gun sight. But we got good training and we learned the appropriate times to use the firearms.
Absolutely. Well, now you are a trainer yourself. Like you could go work at gun sight if you really, if that was a goal, right? So why do you think that women's firearm training organizations like Armed Women of America are so important and needed?
Well, I think one of the things that you brought up, the difference between men's physique and women's, as we've already heard, that Danny's this big, strong guy.
Oh, another one.
Yeah,
Oh, wow.
see, I know how to butter my bread.
It's so true, right?
But that can be, especially for someone who has been in a survival situation. Even though you are a lovely man and would never do her harm, she has to build up trust before she can be this close to you in a stressful situation, right? So women's organizations are coming to the forefront, particularly nonprofits like Armed Women of America, because of the fact that we're training with other women. The certified leader instructors are women. The bulk of the RSOs are going to be women. We have wonderful gentlemen who come in and volunteer as RSOs and are supportive in the gun shops and the sponsor ranges, but they're not going to be at the forefront. So if ladies are feeling intimidated, especially if they're currently in a situation where they need self-protection, that's removed, and they can focus on, okay, now how do I get past, this is going to make a big bang. There's going to be noises, flashes, smells on the range that can be very overstimulating. So as much as we appreciate and love and learn from our gentlemen, we can make it a little bit more, I don't want to say cozy, but comfortable for gals if it's a women's organization and that's the focus.
Melanie, I get it. I've owned gun shops in the 70s or late 70s, and I've owned gun shops currently. And I'm afraid to walk into a gun shop by myself.
It's intimidating.
I don't know why.
Strong man,
but
and it's still intimidating.
But it bothers me even today. I normally would not walk into a gun shop I've never been in without somebody with me. And I don't know, I can't figure it out. But I've seen behind the counter when people come in, women come in, how they feel. And most of them are nervous. But the best of I got out of guns almost completely. And my brother-in-law said, let's go to a gun shop. And I went to a gun shop with him.
This is back in.
This is in the 90s.
Right.
Okay. And we went into a gun shop. And I bought a gun from a lady behind the counter. It was the most comfortable time I've ever bought a gun. Okay. So I get that there's needs for women to have women instructors, and I know that sometimes men need women to instruct.
Mhm.
It's however you feel comfortable, but I think it's a great thing, and because I hate to see women wait to become until they become a victim before they get training. I hate that. It bothers me so much because we interview people all the time. I wish that people would understand, don't be a victim. Get your training now. You may choose not to want to carry, but at least
Mhm.
go through the steps, make don't become a victim.
Mhm.
But anyway, that's my story. And I don't know how to break that, because it's like, even today, if I saw a new gun shop, I don't know that I'd walk in the door.
Which is so interesting, because it's not like you think you're going to be physically,
No,
right? It's not a
nothing's
physical
going to happen to me.
uncomfortable.
Yeah.
And you have an encyclopedic knowledge of guns, so it's not like you feel like, well, the person behind the counter is going to make me feel stupid or whatever. But I don't know what that is for you, but it is an interesting thing that even Dan, who's owned gun stores, has that. And so then if we can bridge that gap, if we can make it more open and comfortable, this whole world of firearms, that's foreign to a lot of people, I think that's key, right, Melanie?
It is. And actually, I love that you shared that with us, because as a woman, I don't think of that. It would never occur to me that you, or, that maybe my husband would potentially be outside the door going, should I,
Right.
do I want to, that that you would be uncomfortable at all. So it gives me personal insight. um, it is really hard to do new things,
Mhm.
right?
Yes.
Right.
It's intimidating to me personally. I love to learn, but it's hard to take that first step sometimes,
Sure.
because especially in our industry, we do have occasions where we assume that folks coming in should already know the answers.
Right.
Mm.
And obviously, I would look at you and listen to your experiences and go, oh, well, he has all the answers. But there's that little niggling part of our brain that goes, do I really? Am I
Mm.
going to run into somebody who's really opinionated? Am I going to get along with these folks? I worked retail.
Mhm.
I was in retail management. So I know how some people can be very helpful, and others you're like, I never want to deal with that person again. Right.
Exactly.
So even if we're just going to the grocery store, we might have that sensation
Mhm.
of, what am I going to get today? Who's
Mhm.
going to, what's
Mhm.
the attitude going to be? I appreciate you sharing that, because
Thank
it gives me whole new insights. It
Well,
does.
thank
So
you.
true, right? So then flashing forward to, you've had these experiences as a child and you become a firearms instructor, and now you're involved with an organization like Armed Women of America.
Mhm.
How did that come to fruition? Did you have friends that invited you in, or did you hear about it and you were like dove in the deep end? How did that come about?
Kind of a combination of the two, actually. Because of the military, we move a lot, or did. I don't have to anymore, yay. But we used to move a lot. And one of the first things we would do is find the local library. And then the second thing was find the local gun shop.
Mm.
And we wandered into our local gun shop here in Arizona, and the nicest folks worked there. And this was right around the time that I was starting to really want to further my formal training. I had been trained very informally, family, friends, catch as catch can, and had taken a few classes up in the Seattle area at Firearms Academy of Seattle. And then we moved here. And so I'm talking to these gentlemen about what are the classes, what are the options. And they had actually already gotten involved with Armed Women of America to try to start a chapter. They were going to be the host shop, but it didn't work out with the lady that was going to lead the chapter.
Mm.
So a few months go by, and I say, well, how can I support it? And the owner says, you can lead it. And I went,
What?
okay. But in order to be a leader for an organization like this, someone in the leadership team does need to be a certified firearms instructor in order to volunteer there. So that started that whole process. went and got my NRA training and USCCA training, and it just blossomed from there. We had an in-person chapter here in our area for several years. I was actually moved out to the DC area during the 2020 closures and pandemic. So we went virtual right away. And I was still leading meetings during the move and after the move.
Oh, wow.
Because the ladies here couldn't go to the range anyway.
Yes.
And so
Right.
we did this virtual thing and then came back. And unfortunately, our in-person chapter closed down. But everyone that was very active did stay in touch. So that has led to a few other opportunities with Armed Women of America.
Awesome. So you had experienced a good gun shop in Arizona that was very helpful with you. What's the name of the shop?
Unfortunately, they are now closed.
Oh, yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
I'm sorry.
So
We thought
2020
give
was
them a
not good to
plug.
them.
We thought
Yes.
about giving them a plug because any gun shop that is that helps people and guides people through the process needs to be recognized.
Yes,
Absolutely.
absolutely.
And I love that, you didn't hear that invitation of, shoot, we want this thing. You could be the leader. And you didn't stop with, oh, well, I'm not qualified. You said, how do I get qualified? And you just kept moving that needle. And I think that is amazing. And that is going to inspire so many people listening today. And then 2020 happens and you move away. And instead of saying, oh, well, I guess, since I'm not physically there to train these ladies, we just have to let the whole thing go. You used technology and innovation. And now I think that you've incorporated that into something that all armed women of America can be involved in. Am I right?
You are right. Yes, it's brand new. It's very exciting. So we, the ladies that I stayed in touch with, I was blessed with an amazing leadership team. So when things opened back up here, our other certified instructor was taking ladies to the range. And even when our chapter closed down, we stayed in touch. We still go out and train together. And we kept saying, we wish we could connect with the other ladies in the organization. We wish that we could offer something to ladies who do shift work. So our law enforcement, our nurses, the folks who are caregivers to littles or to elders, and especially, of course, my focus being the military community and wanting to give back, our ladies who are either active duty or military spouses that are stationed overseas, who may not have access to a range or training at all, but still want to stay up on things. They want to keep doing some kind of skill building. And we have an absolutely amazing board of directors at Armed Women of America. And I said, you know what? We need a virtual chapter. We need something where everybody can get together online like we did during the pandemic. And they said, do it. Let's do it. So we now have the Anywhere Virtual Online chapter. We call it the AVO short for. So if you like avocados, you'll remember our chapter. And that's exactly what we're going to do. We're going to meet virtually every month by Zoom, just like this. We will have our own presentations as certified leaders, but also we have an amazing set of guests lined up. We're already booking out into 2025. We're so excited for the future of this. And because of the technology, like you mentioned, making use of that, we'll be able to record these meetings. So the ladies who are working third watch, or the ladies that are in some other time zone, say Guam or Europe, if they can't attend live, they'll be able to just click in on demand and view the recording, still get the information. I was stationed in Japan with my husband for 4 years, absolutely no access to guns there. So my training was Nerf guns with my kids and training my kids the 4 safety rules with their little water pistols and stuff.
Nice.
But it's good to know that there are ways that we can keep training and keep up on it. And then when we get back to the States, we pick up where we left off.
Gosh, that's brilliant. I absolutely love that. So, and how would people tap into the AVO?
The AVO chapter. So if you just go to armedwomen.org and then click on the Get Involved tab, as though you were going to look for an in-person chapter, you'll see the Anywhere Virtual Online chapter listed. And they can click into that page and they'll learn about the resources that we offer, in addition to the many member benefits that everybody in the in-person chapters has access to. And while they're there, they can also check out the inaugural online auction, which thank you both for doing that for us, for Armed Women of America. So with POG Auctions and our amazing sponsors and partners, we're doing this very first online virtual auction where folks can get gifts for someone else. I won't tell if they maybe pick up something for themselves.
Right.
And I believe it runs through September. So there's plenty of time to start getting some bids in and get all kinds of goodies. And they'll be supporting an awesome cause.
There's also still time to donate for the auction too.
Absolutely.
Yes,
And
yeah.
there's a form right on the armedwomen.org website for how to submit for some donations, and also a link to the auction, which I think closes on September 24th, 2024. But I'll verify that. And, kind of circling back around to things that you have just evolved into in your life, you are a quite prolific writer. And it sounds like you've maybe been writing your whole life for a variety of different purposes and reasons. And so, talk to us about your writing, and specifically a particular article that you wrote in the LadyShooter LifeStyles magazine.
Yes. So yeah, I did start writing as a child. My first official publication was in poetry anthologies, and that was actually when I was still in high school. We're not going to say how long ago that was. Just it's been a little while.
A minute or two.
Just a minute or two. But yeah, so it started with poetry anthologies and things like the college newspaper, and you just go from there. And I had the wonderful opportunities to be published in the Guild newspaper for my first husband's Police Officers Guild. And then it turned into military and educational magazines. I did homeschool for over 20 years, 3 children, and was able to contribute to 2 different homeschooling magazines and professional educators, regular teacher publications as well. And then, of course, as things grew in the firearms side of things, and I got more exposure to publications in this industry, I set a goal of starting to work my way into, hopefully, some firearms contributions, and met that goal in late 2022, thanks to a post that I wrote for Alexo Athletica about safety while jogging or walking, which is a big thing for women, of course. And then I was blessed with the opportunity by Brandy of LadyShooter LifeStyles. When she took over the magazine as the publisher, we were chatting about some things, and she said, well, why don't you write a piece? And that was over a year ago. She has really, really given me a lot of opportunities, including in the recent summer 2024 issue, a feature on women for gun rights. And thank you, Miss Cheryl, for being a part of that interview. I had the wonderful experience of chatting with you, and then Miss Susan from Missouri, and of course, Diana Muller, fangirl moment.
Absolutely.
Yes. And I appreciated that as a publisher and as a woman, she gave us a huge amount of space, because it's so important what Women for Gun Rights is doing for us, not just as women, but for the entire country, because this is something that's nonpartisan. It's something that is, yes, there is the cover. I love it. And it's vital. Our readers need to know that these organizations are out there, because there's so many women that are just coming into the shooting sports and 2A advocacy. And that was an opportunity to share with them a way that they can get involved, no matter how much or how little time they have. and
Absolutely. And
and
this
to
is a
spread that was wonderful.
high quality paper printing magazines. I should have had the article you wrote marked in here to hold it up, but beautiful pictures of the work that Susan Myers is doing in DC, that Diana Muller's doing in DC. Just a really just so proud. There we go. I found it. If I talk long enough, I'll find it.
And there's Miss Susan doing her thing too.
There she is out of Missouri, but rocking the world. She is famous for her chant, zones have got to go. Hey, hey, ho, ho. And
Yes.
she is just, we call her our wee but mighty warrior. And Diana Muller. Anyway, so generous of you and also Becky and also the Lady Shooters magazine to give that much space to this advocacy work that we're doing. So thank you so much for that.
Thank you. It was a wonderful opportunity. It really was.
So awesome. Well, as we start rounding out, I do want to have you remind folks all the different ways they can follow the work you're doing, be involved in the firearms training that you have helped to develop and supply, and anything else you'd like to share with folks.
So obviously, the first way to get the actual training would be through the AVO chapter. So again, armedwomen.org, and just scroll down to the Anywhere chapter or click into that auction. And then also my website is Melonie K. That's Melonie with an O, Meloniek. And then I'm all over social media. So the easiest way to find me for those things is taprac, taprac.app/Melonie K.
Perfect. Thank you so much for all that you are doing, all the lives that you are positively impacting. And, we live in the same state now, but it feels like your schedule and mine have a hard time lining up. So I'm so thankful for this opportunity, and we will already be looking forward to our next.
Wonderful. Thank you.
Thank you, Melanie.
Bye-bye.
Appreciate you so much. Bye-bye. So cool. I love this Avo. I'm gonna check it out. I'm gonna look into it. I I had belonged to one of their chapters out here in West Phoenix, and I think it has lost its chapter leader for a while. But I know that somebody else is going to step up. But in the meantime, to be able to have that online opportunity all across, I mean, the globe, really,
Right.
right? That there's internet, and you can get to the armedwomen.org. You can participate and check it out. And I love that she mentioned the benefit auction that is on September 24th. We are in the studio today on Tuesday, August 20th, 2024. The benefit auction closes on Tuesday, September 24th, 2024. And so if you're listening to this during that time frame, please, consider consigning something as a donation and go in and bid. And this is not a time to look for a bargain. This is a time to help support an amazing organization. So bid early, bid big, bid often, and really help support this amazing organization called Armed Women of America.
And all the money goes towards this. It's not POG's money.
It's so
So
true.
we donate the time to make sure that the ending price of that gun or accessory goes to them.
Absolutely. We love using our pot of gold auctions to benefit. I mean, it's a service minded, service hearted organization to begin with. And so to be able to help these kind of organizations is awesome. We've done Walk the Talk America. We've helped them. We've helped holdmyguns.org. And now we're honored to help Armed Women of America. All right. Well, as we start winding down, I just again want to thank our awesome guest today, Melonie Kennedy. Thank you to our amazing viewers and listeners all over the planet. When you want to go and share this, I hope you do share this video with your friends. You'll go to YouTube, Gunstreamer, or the OpsLens smartphone app. When you get to those platforms, please like, share, subscribe, hit the notifications button, because that helps those platforms understand that this is content you value. You know, we can tell them all day long that this is important, but when you, the end user, tells them that you value it in those ways, that is really impactful. And so if you want to listen to the audio only version, maybe you're out mowing the yard, or you are on a long bike ride, or something where you can't have a screen in front of you, go to our website, gunfreedomradio.com, click the on demand tab, and
Darling, you can binge listens to your heart content.
oh, you switched it up on me. I like it. And if you want to see the photos and bios and links to all the works that all of our guests have, including Melonie Kennedy, including that benefit auction, go to the guest tab. That is an ever growing database of subject matter experts. And when you spend time there, we don't hate that. Real quickly, I want to call attention to some folks that support the work we do. On our website, gunfreedomradio.com, on the main page, you scroll down, you will see Attorneys on Retainer. That is an amazing program that we are clients of, in full disclosure, that when you become a client, we get a tiny little portion of every dollar that you spend. I know that they cover Arizona. I know they cover Hawaii. I believe they're expanding their coverage to every state in the nation. So please be sure and check them out. That's so impactful. If you ever are forced to use your firearm, you need an attorney on retainer. And we have supplied that to our family. It is a good thing if you supply that to yours. All right. LockedInGrip.com. When you're out on the range and it's hot and sweaty out there like it is in August, this is a liquid shooting sports chalk. It's a no slip, better traction, heightened connection for safer, faster shooting. Go to lockedingrip.com. And we really value American made products. Because why? Because they support American jobs on American soil, right? So this invitation only shopping network is for all of that. It supports all of that. And it also supports the work that we do. So this is your invitation from Dan and I directly to you, patriothousehold.com/GFR for Gun Freedom Radio. A small portion of every dollar you spend there supports not only the work we do, but also the Second Amendment Foundation, which is filing lawsuits against these egregious laws that pop up all over the nation. And instead of spending your money at those big box stores that diminish our freedoms, why not spend it, get the same quality, higher quality products, because they're American made, from patriothousehold.com/GFR, from your laundry soap to your skincare to your delicious snacks to even ground beef, roast, steaks, amazing, wonderful, delicious beef products. You can shop online as you need it or set your order and forget it, which is what I do with my busy schedule. Shows up on my doorstep. It's high quality, delicious, convenient. There's no downside here. patriothousehold.com/GFR. All right, we've got to get on out of here. Dan, what are we going to do until we meet again?
Are we going somewhere?
We're closing out.
We're gonna pray for this nation.
We are. What else are we going to do?
We're gonna pray for our leaders.
We are going to pray for our leaders, and even the ones we don't like, maybe especially the ones we don't like. And until next time, be good to each other. Have a great week, and God bless.
Bye-bye.